Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Back on the 49 Chev. In the last video on this here, I had to do the passenger side door. I had to do the door seams, get everything, let go of the fender, move it forward, had to do all that. This one here is similar, but the problem with this one here is when they chopped the roof on this and welded the fenders on this car, this door did not line up. This belt line here and this belt line here, this was a 1/4 of an inch lower. So I had to adjust the entire door and realign everything. And then this quarter panel had a lot of butchery done on this edge here, and I had to replace this section of the quarter panel lip right up through here in order to get the door to look good. So I'm going to walk you through what I did here now, so stick around. Thanks for the license plate, Sean. So I'm back on the old Fleetline. In the last video, I went and completed the other door over there, got all the fitment, body seams, all that done on it. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take you guys along. I'm going to try to make this one a quick one because it's basically much of the same as the other side, but there is a few things with this door that are different than the other side. And one of the main things is it doesn't line up, okay? The body lines are off a lot, so the door has to come up. Now up here in front, I don't know if this is right or not. This here looks to be filled, and here I don't know what way that is, so I got to find out if the door's high here or low or whatnot, because this looks like filler work here, right? So, but I got the same problem here, tight along here, and they've already did some work down along here. It's gotten extremely tight here, right? And then it goes down through, you can see where they try to do some work on it. There's in and out and all that type of stuff with it. And you can see what's going on here. It's tight here, and it's nowhere near lined up. Now they chopped it, and it seems like there's a bit of room up here for it to be raised up a small bit. Like again, I'm not worried about here up right now. I just want to get from the belt line down because there's some issues with the roof on this car I want to address, and I got to address it all at one time. But what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to, not going to bore you guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to strip the door and strip this quarter panel, have that done, and do all the repairs where I got to do it. I'll get that done, and I'll also get the door latch removed on this side here. So I'll get that done and get the latch and everything off it and get this here so that I can get the swing and the C-words too and get the door lined up. This inside the door here looks good on this side here. The rocker and everything seems pretty good, but we don't know when we get into it. So, but I'll get this all stripped. When it comes back, we'll be ready to start to do some fitment and moving stuff around. So I got that all stripped off, and very pleased with it. There's absolutely no metal work that needs to be done to it in terms of the door itself. There is a dent in the bottom of the door that had to be fixed. The body lines up here, they do actually line up with the one on the thing. All this was filler, and I grinded it all off, but the body line is there and is there. And of course, the seam is totally crazy going down through there. It just gets almost tight there, right? And then we look at it then through here, it's out a bit here, right? The fender is compared to this. And back here, of course, now we got all the body seam down here. That's pretty, it looks normal there, but it's far from it. And then it gets like it's almost touching there, right? And of course, the body line is way off here. So what I got to do now is if I stand back and look at it, where I grinded it off, down this bottom of the door, the seam gets bigger and gets smaller as it gets down to this end of the door. So the back of the door has to come up and that's good because it lines up with the rocker properly then. So I got to bring the bottom of the door up. The problem with it is, do I bring the top hinge forward or the bottom hinge back? Now, the thing I got here is I got a gap down here that I know if I bring this forward here, I'm going to overlap here. I'm going to close it up. And if I bring it back here, I'm going to open it up here. I don't know how much is going to open it up, and maybe I want to do that because I'm going to have to cut this clear and rework this section here. And all this here is just going to be issues I know for a fact right here going on because of the way how tight this is. This is tight here, and this is tight here, so something's got to go somewhere. That's got to go back, and that's got to go forward. But I'm going to have to let the door latch go and take all the latch mechanisms and everything off it and go off it. And I was doing when I was grinding it all off, it's been pretty crude what I've done to it. All in through here, you can see this very edge going down through here. You can see the holes where they after playing with it already, but they done it right on the edge there, right? And they never fully welded it up solid, and they were still playing around with it. The problem I got is that when the door's closed, right here, the door seems level. Right? When you look back at this way here, it seems level. But you get down here, the door sticks out. But that's the quarter panel. It's been welded and dissolved in. Right? So I got a fair bit of work to do to straighten this one up. But the first thing I do is let the latch go, and then I got to decide what I'm going to do here. The problem I got is where the hinges are. They bolt down in through this way, and I got to let these ones go that are in here, and move the door up or down or whatnot. What I'm going to do with it. But I think what I'm going to end up doing here first is, because this here is going to have to be moved, I think I'm going to just kind of have to cut this off like I did on the other side and let it go. So this fender's loose, and then I can work it all to fit it, because I'm not going to be able to do much with it. I know for a fact that if I move the door up, this is going to close up the gap here. Okay? And that's what's going to happen, and that's going to be rubbing there. So I might as well just cut this off now and get this out of my way so it's moved forward a bit. And I have a nice big wide gap there, and I can adjust the door. I'll make the fender fit the door after. What I'm concerned about now is I want to get this body line lined up, and I want to get something here that I can work with. And then when that's figured out, then I'll make this here fit the door. So I got the door latch all let go here. Got that all taken off because I does all my alignments with them off, okay? I don't want to have no interference with that. And I also went up here and I cut the fender clear. So I got the fender all cut clear here now. So that's all let go. And like when you close it up now, you can actually see that it's after opening up a bit, but I can still adjust it some more than that. The problem I'm having here now is that it's going to be tricky to get at them upper bolts. The ones I got to let go are the ones on the post in here. And they don't look like they've been tampered with. So what I'm going to have to end up doing now is I'm going to have to take the door off the car so I can get at that. And I can probably come up from the wheel well and get them. It's going to be awkward. And I'm trying to break these, and they're only a really slight thin half-inch bolt. So it's going to be tricky to get at it. So I'm going to pull the door off it, just as easy. Take these 6 bolts off, take this off. And then I'm going to get this upper hinge, let go, take it out, clean it all up, put it back in, so that way it's easy to work. Then I can actually work it from in the fender, just crack it a small bit. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it off from there. Just by looking at it, you can see the seam sealer and things all over it, so it's never been tampered with. So I'll get this door off now, and we'll get that hinge off. So I got the door taken off it, and then I pulled the hinge from it. These were tricky to get out. They were only a very shallow bolt, and they were very tight, so I'm glad I did this. And I went ahead then. There was a lot of seam sealer in these holes from the factory. And what ended up happening then was, like, you wouldn't be able to move, just tap the hinge forward or back, because seam sealer would interfere with it. Also, I'd clean all that out. So I cleaned up all that section there. And then I come over here and I cleaned off the back of the hinge because it was full of seam sealer and everything would have held in place. And I cleaned up all the heads of the bolts. And you can see how thin these are, look. So I got that all ready there now, and I painted all that just because I'll be taking it out again. So I'm going to put this in now and have this so I can actually adjust it. I'm going to put it in, I'm going to snug it up and not make it too tight, and then I'm going to put the door back on the car. I got the hinge mounted back on, but I got the bolts just snugged up enough so that I can still move the hinge around, but I haven't got to worry about turning them in too far to tighten them up. So what I'm going to do now is bolt the door back on. So I got the door bolted on, I got it lined in and out this way here. The top hinge on the post is still loose, so I can move it back and forth like so. And by doing so, up, and I can get the alignment, okay? So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to put a washer on this here now, and I'm going to set this up so I can weld this on here, because it's a two-man job. I'm here by myself, so what I'll do is I'll set this up and I'll just tack weld a washer on to hold it in place, and then I'll tighten up that front hinge. Not going to weld it. I'm playing around sizing things up. I had an upper lip there, so I took a pair of vice grips there, clamped it up in place there. I actually got a clamp down to the point it's actually touching here, and I got a little bit high here. I'm expecting when I tighten this up here is going to want to spring on me, so I'm going to tighten it up there and see what it's like, see if this drops down any. I just want to bring it up past the wires too, just give you a bit of room that I can actually see if it's going to spring back, because something tells me there's a bit of tightness up here on this hinge where I'm at my limits. So I got to go ahead now and I'll tighten this up, and we'll see where it's to. You saw me tightening that up there. It's tricky trying to get in through there, and all you're doing is just guesstimating where the nut is to, and hopefully you don't lose it. And you got 3 of them you got to tighten. So I tightened all it up, and I was probably there 5 minutes or more trying to tighten that up. And when I let it go, it dropped. Okay. Problem I'm having is up here. It's bringing up in the roof. I got to bring this out here and jack this up higher. I loosened up them bolts again and start all over. So I got them all loosened up. Nightmare. I'm telling you, this is one nightmare trying to get at that, I can tell you. But anyway, and I turned around, I got this jacked up again. Here's what I got done. I got the door opened up a bit, and I got it overlapping the lip up here. I'm just trying to get it up as high as I possibly can get it, because there's going to be some spring back for when it falls down. And now you can see it here. It almost looks good there, where that's to there now. And look at the top of the door. So that's it. So I'm going to try to tighten that up again now. Got it all tightened up again. It's closer, but it's still not close enough for me. I'd like to get another little bit on that, just another little bit tweaked up. What I think, I'm at the limits of that top hinge. The hinge won't go ahead no more. I'm to this point here now, I got a couple options. I can take the door off the car, loosen up the bottom hinge, and start moving the bottom hinge back, because I still need to get it up again. Or I can do an old cheap bottom and strick, and that's bend the bottom hinge. That's what I'm going to try here now. All I do is I put a socket or a bolt or something, jams it in between the hinge here, puts it in here so there's a piece here and it touches this here. So when you pushes on it, it'll actually bend this bar here, right? So we will see. Stay tuned, see how I fools up this door. Probably be better to unbolt the door and pull the hinge back. But I'm really getting tired of it. This is very hard to get at that. If I loosens up that bottom one, I don't want to get myself into. So I'm going to size it up a bit more there and decide how hard it is to get loose or whatnot, because I would like to get this up another little bit. So let's go through the motions now. Just a big old socket. There she is. Fixed. Problem fixed. She never moved nothing around much. No. She can probably come in a small bit on the top there. There we go. Brand new! Use of the socket. Bend the hinge. That's a lot better. That body line there, now it's way better there now. All I did, I'll show you what I did. You got to watch this, because I can tell you can fold the door pretty quick. You got to be very, very gentle with it. I have a socket here, right? And I lay the socket in here like so, okay? So when the hinge comes to, it brings up on that part of the hinge there, right here. And then when I pulls the door to, it's going to want to pull this part of the hinge forward this way here. And what it does, it actually bends the hinge right here, right? So we've done this a lot for quick fixes. Pins and bushings goes in the car and he wants to get the door closed, put a socket in there, tweak it. But I can honestly tell you, I've after folding a scattered door. Especially when it gets old. You got to be very, very gentle. You got to know your own strength. And I got some comical stories of fixing doors like that. But I managed to get away with it today without no hassle. Because sometimes what ends up happening, you ends up bending the bottom of the hinge out and the whole bottom of the door will stick off. And it gets pretty funny, right? Or you'll bend it too much and then the bottom of this body line is up here. But that's it. So now I got the door lined. I'm going to snug up them bolts on the front. And now we can start getting everything ready. At the bottom seam here, sizing that up. And then fixing this one here. I'll adjust the fender to the front of the door. What you see me do here is I just welded a washer onto it, okay? What I'm trying to do is I want to get this here flat. So when I close the door too, it'll stay flush so that I can actually work on getting this side here straightened away. I don't want to put the latch on it because the latch will change, okay? It'll actually go in and out, whatnot. I just prefer to do it this way here. I don't want no interference from the latch. So I can just constantly open and close it, open and close it, open and close it. I haven't got to worry about unlatching it and opening the door and all that type of stuff with it, right? So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start straightening all this up. At the bottom of the door is good. Got a nice seam along the bottom. Now, all the way along, it's even. All I got to do now is adjust this side here. I'll get all this done. I'll do the same as before. I'll cut it, tap it back. The problem they had down here is they cut it right on the gauge. Up here, like I'm going to have to recut that down there because when you close the door and you look down here, you can see it's all in on the door itself. The door itself got a nice flow in. The quarter panel is in right here, okay? But like they cut it here all along there, right along the edge, and I prefer to cut it back, okay? But I'm going to have to recut this again because you can actually see it starts getting thinner as it goes down through here. If you look at that there, you can see this is pretty wide, and then you can see my finger there, how narrow that gets right there. No? So I'm going to have to cut that and re-weld all that there and get all that straightened away before I get all the straightened away up here. So that's a bunch of welding I just got to get done. And I'll bring you back every now and again if I find anything that might be interesting. But all I'm going to do is just cut through that there now and start welding it all up. You can really see what I'm up against here. All the holes from welding. So I'm going to go and address all that now and going to start from the bottom here and start welding and fitting all this here. When I'm happy with the fit here, I'll come up 4 or 5 inches. I'll get all that working, and I'll just work my way up to the top of the door and get this side straightened away. Well, I'm into it. Start it down here and start cleaning it all up and start welding the corner, grinding, dressing it. And I come up here and I'm starting to fit the door and bring the quarter panel out. And I'm using right here, I'm using coat hanger. That's all it is. Just an old coat hanger I got kicking around here. I got a lot of them, and I use them for filler rods. And using it as a filler rod, I'm poking it back so there's some backing there. So when I weld it, I got something that I can actually grind off. But now I'm running into this up here now where I got to pull this out and I got a bit of a gap, so I'm into it. By rights, this whole edge should be replaced, okay? But I'm just going to work my way up on it. I might just stab a piece of metal into this here now, up against it, and then weld it and then grind it off. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'll cross it. But I'm just telling you this, what I'm getting myself into here. Trying to get this door seam straightened away. I'll get back at her now and I'll just finish this much off. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself because you would think now I'll just cut all that out and be done with it. No, don't be at that because you're just going to throw everything out of whack. Just start from the bottom. Just keep working your way up and then just adjust as you need be as you're going, right? So I'm going to finish off this section here, grind this all off, or weld it up, grind it all off and have that done to there, and then I'll come up and be concerned about that. So here's where I'm to. I got this down here all grind and dressed up. Then I come up here and I'm after pulling it out, just trying to get a nice gap here so I can actually close the door. I got the quarter panel pulled out, so now that it sits nice. When you look down it and everything, it's out the same height and everything like that. But what I'm left with here now is I got a large gap here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a piece of scrap steel and butt it up against that there, weld it down through there and then grind it all flush out here. and then weld that corner up. That's the only way to do that, because there's really too much there to try to fill up. You can see up here I got a bit of a coat hanger put in there. That's how much I had to bring it out, right here. I had to bring it out that much, so I'll weld all that up there. And I got the coat hanger put in flush and in behind it, so when I weld it, there's a bit of backing there then now, see? And then I'll just work my way up. So I'll get this welded up now. I got a piece welded in here. There it is. Brand new. Nice seam all the way down through there. Close the door on it. Nice seam down through there. Flows nice. That's another section done. So I'm just going on now. I'll get this welded up here. Get that grinded up. And then I'll just move on up here and start working my way up along there. So I got everything done up as far as there. Then I'm into this. There's a lot of butchery going on here. I don't know what they were doing, but they cut it all off. And this is where everything starts getting tight. Okay? So then I had to cut a lot of it out of it. And you can see how tight this is up here on the top side. And then now this is the gap I'm trying to get down here. Right? So I end up having to cut the piece out of there to get it all fitted. So I gotta make another piece now, similar to what I've done down there now, but it's gonna be a curved piece. Get that put in there and weld that in there, and that way it'll have a nice flow. The problem I'm having is this inside edge. The way this flows out here is like I can't tap it back enough. Whatever's going on, like I'm splitting it down through here and tapping it back, but down here I didn't want to do it. There was a bunch of welding and everything there, so I ended up having to cut it out of it all together. So I'm gonna make another piece now to fit in there to finish that one off. But so far everything's looking good. The door closed. We got a nice seam all the way down as far as there, coming up through, and you look down, the way it all lines up, works up pretty good. So make another piece for that. We're slowly getting there. We're almost up to the top. We only got to there to do, so I'm not going to worry about up here. I've said that before on the other side. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the roof yet. Some changes I want to make to the roof, so I'm just going to concentrate from the belt line down all the way around the car. So I got a piece down, make up there and get that welded in. Now let's move up to here, get this one glued up. I'm just going to cut this one down through here now. See if I can tap it back. Something tells me I'm going to have to cut it up here on the inside. But I'm going to cut it up through here and get the whole works done and get this finished off. Here's what it looks like. You see I cut it back, just a bit back from it. Then I tap back on it, so I open up the gap. I got a nice gap up through there now. Got to tweak it a bit more here. So I'm going to go ahead now and get all this welded up, so I can get this side finished on the back side. I'll have a gap back here, right nice. And there you have it. Nice door seam all the way down through there. All this in here now looks good. Down through here. No more holes. Right. Not much to it when you come to think about it, right? Nice seam coming down through here. Gotta be worked small bit more possibly. But it looks good when you close the door now, look down the side of it. All looks good. Body seams, body line. All that looks good. Both sides. Right. So I'm pleased with that. So we got that all looked after. That was a big undertaking trying to get this here lined up because we didn't know what we're getting ourselves into. Because I knew that there was something going on with this car. And this was it. So, and this is one of the biggest things on this car that was very noticeable when I first seen the car was this body line here wasn't lining up. So now I got a good door seam there. Got this side finished, which is good. Now I can move on over to here, get this fender remounted. and get this pushed forward and get a gap here. And then I'm going to do the same as I did on the other side here. I'm going to open this up here and plate it on the inside and get that welded up. So let's get started on that now. So that was an easy fix. Nice gap all the way up through there. All I did is the fender was out and it was back, and all I did is I put the spoon in there and bent it forward and tweaked it so it was in, and I just re-welded it up here. You can actually see, there's where it originally was, look. I'm not worried about nothing up here because I'll make all that fit later on. All I'm concerned about is getting the fender to fit the door properly. Okay, so I got a nice gap down through here. You look down across there now, it lines up nice. You look down across this way, it lines up nice. All right, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld this up here and fill this in here. Get a strip of metal and weld that in there, and then I'll work on this section here then. And that's all I have to do with this one here. So I'll get this welded up here now. Oh, don't that look lovely? That's better. Now I gotta move on here. You can see the way the gap goes up and it just ends. So I'm gonna trim all this up here now, because all this was added after the fact, and split this up here and open this up. I'm only gonna go as far as here and get a nice gap from here down to here. Now I gotta open this up a little bit wider because I'm gonna put a piece in there and weld it on to give this whole thing strength up down to about here somewhere, same as I did on the other side. So I'll get this all trimmed up here now, cut, and get that cut and split. So I got a nice big gap from about right here all the way up to the top side here. This here is all made up too from what I can make of it. So what I got to do is I got to cap the end of it here now. What I'm going to do is a little bit different on this side here. The other side I left the door on. I'm going to take the door off the car, give me lots of room there. I'm going to make up the piece and I'm going to get it all welded on the inside, grind dressed, but I'm not going to weld the outside yet, because that way if I got to open up the gap or I got to bring it back this way, I can just do it on the outside here then when it gets it all done. Or it gets to the piece of metal in place. So then all I got left to do is weld this outer edge right here, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and haul the door off now and start making up a piece to go in there. See, this makes life a lot easier here now. I'm gonna clean all this up in here now. I got some welding to do down here. I'm gonna weld it up first. Clean this all up in here, clean this in here, get it ready and start making a piece that can go from about right here all the way up to here. That'll go in this way here, and I'll weld it on and grind dress it. Have it done. So I got that all cleaned up in there and ready to go. And all I did is I got the scrap piece of steel. I'm going to lay that in place there now. I'm going to mark it and start trimming it to fit. So that there will actually fit right into there. Not going to worry about none of this out here yet. Just get it so it fits in along this rolled edge here. That fits in there right nice. I'll get that all sanded there now. And get that welded in there and get it all dressed up. So you can see me, I grinded all that off flat there. I'm not going to weld that yet. I got in here all grinded now and dressed. Okay, all I used that in there, I used the 2 grinders, and I used this old zip cut wheel to get in the corners, plus I had a large stone there, and a die grinder. That's all I used when I got there, clean that up in there. So I got a nice section going down through there. So now that it's all ready and all that straightened away, I'll put the door back on it, and I'll start adjusting this for the actual door gap itself, and then I'll weld this up down along here and grind that off. All I ever do putting these doors on, okay? As you can see, I just use a simple old wooden chair with a block of wood. Depends, I might have put 2 blocks of wood, whatever, depends on the car and the height of the car and whatnot. All I do is I use a screwdriver right here to line up one of my holes, okay? Then I put a bolt in the second hole, and then I continue on. I put the 3 bolts on top and do the bottom ones the same way. I always try to do the top first. Then what I'll do is I'll pull the top all the way in, and I'll lift it up with my knee from here. I'll lift it up as high as it will possibly go, and then I'll tighten it up. Then I'll pull the bottom of the door in, and in this case it just never didn't want to come in. I had to fool with it a bit, and I'll tighten it up. And then what I'll do is I'll swing the door closed, and then I'll adjust one side at a time. If the bottom is in, I'll bring the bottom out first. If the top is out, I'll bring the top in after. Like, I'll just do one, get the bottom straight away, and then I'll bring the top in. Simple as that. The biggest thing with it is get it up as high as you can. It's easier to drop a door. It's harder to bring it up when you got it all tightened up. So before it even tightens up, when you tighten up your first hinge, bring the door up as high as you can. Then you can just tap it down. Right? But I got all the seams and everything all straightened away. All that's fitting there good now. I'm pretty pleased with that up here. Okay, it's a bit wide right here. So what I'll end up doing now is I'll just pull this apart here, and I'll put a bit of a gap here, and I'll weld that there. And I'll just come down around here, and I'll weld all that up down here, tap it in, and weld it up, and that'll be my gap. So I'll have all that straightened away. So let's get that welded. There it is, all welded up. You see me just continuously welding. This is a pretty structural strong area, so I'm not too concerned about warpage because I got an inside edge there, and I got this all out here is all curved, so that's why I just kept going with the heat. So all I'm going to do now is take a 24 grit grinding disc and grind all that off. All this is 023 wire, and the steel that I'm using on this project is 18 gauge. And there you have it, all nice and pretty. I'm never concerned about my welds and what they looks like. As long as I got good penetration, I'm going to be grinding it all anyway. So I got that done. It's got a good seam there. Going down through it now, all the way down. So I'm happy with that. The last thing I got to do with this one here now is that right here now, they've had to grind at the edge of this door from about here down to here. All the way down here. And it's actually broke clear in a couple of spots. And up here, they actually grind it, trying to get this here to flush mount. Actually grinded a section clean right out of it. So I just have to trim it all out and everything. I'm going to put a little triangle piece in there and weld it on. I'm going to weld this entire edge down along here, going down to about here somewhere. And then I can actually have something there. The inner lip is still there and the outer lip is still there, but it's hard to see. But if you look at it, you can see where they actually grinded through it. So I'm going to get that all welded up now and call this one done. Some of my patchwork is crude, isn't it? There you have it. I got that all welded down through there, and then I grinded it and re-welded it again. Right? And I got all that done. Now you're probably asking now, how did I grind that, okay? Going to point out a few things here now. You notice I use these 24 grit grinding discs, okay? A few have asked about backing pads. This is the only backing pad I got, okay? I use it when I first put the disc on it. I'll use this here, and that's all I'll use. From there on in, all I'll ever do is I'll turn around and I'll take another one that's a little bit smaller, and I'll use it for a backing pad this way here. And that's all I do, so it doubles up on it. But to do stuff like this here, the little trick I got here is this is the pad here. The other one on the other side is inside out. So there's 2 pads on that. And I'll use that there, put that in there, and I'll grind that edge there, down through there. And then I can continue on and grind the outside edge. So just a quick little trick. 2 backing pads back to back. Just watch it, don't get your fingers next to them, because it'll actually take the top off your fingers and your fingernails. Ask me how I know. Anyway, that's a quick little tip. I'm going to finish this off now and call this one done. And that's all there is to that. So that little tool works out best kind using it that way. So I got it done. I got full seams on this one now all the way around. I got the body line lined up. The door swings freely on its own with good body lines all the way around it. So I completed this door. I had to weld a little small piece up there and I had to weld the edge up. I got this done now, and so now I can move on to possibly the hood. I'm thinking there's a lot of work to that because the fenders are good. Just got to be grinded off the edges. None of that's been tampered with on these here, but that hood, whoa, just a little tease. Look, way that's welded up. Look. So I got a lot of alignment to do on that, so that'll probably be my next one. On this one here, I'll start doing that hood there, getting it straightened away. But I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips were good, and until next time.